What's going on, YouTube? It's your host, Bruce GNT. And today we're going to talk about how Kamala Harris is pretty much keeping her options open within the next 4 years. So, seemingly confirmed by Politico and the New York Times, it seems like she's keeping it open to run for president or governor of California, which would be interesting on both fronts because the governor of California right now is Gavin Newsom. He's someone that I've heard quite a bit when it comes to just plans and things that he's implementing that just don't really make sense for the Californian people, which seems just kind of weird because they keep voting for it anyway. Gavin Newsom seems like he's also revving up to run for president in 2028. And the reason I say is because a little bit before, I want to say in the month of September is pretty much where he started to make different strides and moves within, California. Seemingly, he was kind of lackadaisical when it came to certain things. So when it came to the migrant crisis, and then when it came to, homelessness, and then as well with crime, once the election kind of revved up, he started making like a whole lot of strides. It's going to be interesting because Gavin Newsom is pretty inept as a governor, and then for Kamala Harris to kind of go back and try to usurp him in a sense, we're going to see maybe three things. One of three things. We're going to see them battle it out for governor. We're going to see them battle it out for president, or we're going to see one go for the presidency and then one go for governor. I'm interested to see if the third development was to happen, who would be who. The amount of robberies, the amount of just shoplifting and crime that's been going on in California is astronomical. It's insane, honestly. And it's been affecting not just the people in the neighborhoods, it's affecting the businesses. A lot of businesses have pulled out of California, especially in the Oakland area, which Oakland's another one that's going to be very interesting because I think Oakland's at risk for going into bankruptcy because we're not going to talk about their mayor because Shang Tao, I want to say, she is under investigation right now. It's actually kind of interesting. I might do a segment where I talk about certain politicians, or better yet, the worst politicians sprinkled across the U.S. because up in Chicago they have Brandon Johnson. I've heard people call him Mayor Mohawk. Still in the state of Illinois, Tiffany Henyard. Yeah, Tiffany Henyard. And then, I think they just got her out in San Francisco. Can't remember her name. I'll put it up on the screen if I can actually get it. But she just got out, and apparently she was terrible. But to get back to the story, a lot of businesses, a lot of people were leaving California because of what was going on. It's actually just insane. Yeah, let's jump right into this with Kamala Harris. So as you can see, Kamala Harris has been lying low since her defeat in the presidential race, unwinded with family and senior aides in Hawaii before heading back to the nation's capital. That's actually pretty nice. I would love to suffer an utter defeat and then just say, you know what, I'm on vacation for a little bit. Crazy. But privately, the vice president has been instructing advisors and allies to keep her options open, whether for a possible 2028 presidential run or even to run for governor in her home state of California in 2 years. As Harris has repeated in phone calls, I'm staying in the fight. The interesting thing about this is that she talks about staying in the fight, which is all fine and dandy, but I wonder if this is going to be a retribution run where she kind of learned from her mistakes and everything like that and kind of saw, okay, not just what she was doing, but what the people, her constituents, and what those that were hanging around her and what they were doing as well. And the reason I say that is because a lot of people are saying, okay, well, she ran a perfect campaign. No. If she ran a perfect campaign, she would have won. Perfect is without fault, without any type of flaw. That's what perfect means by its definition. So she didn't win, so it wasn't perfect. And yes, okay, cool. She had a short amount of time. Even still, I mean, if we were to refer back to a 2019 race, the American people chose back then as well. She got, I think, 1% of the vote, and she got destroyed by Tulsi Gabbard, utterly destroyed. It's hilarious. You should check out the video. I wonder if they're going to learn that the main issues were that the American people didn't feel heard. They didn't know who she was as a candidate. She was too repetitive in what she was saying. It felt like it was a script that she was just reading off. And she kind of dodged questions. And obviously, the border crisis and people not being able to afford milk and eggs and bread and everything like that, all those things kind of sunk her. But I think the other thing that kind of sunk her, which was something that the left, the Democrats, are still dealing with today, is that even though Kamala Harris did not run off a race and saying, okay, you should vote for me because I'm a black woman, her constituents, her followers, her friends, and the people that were voting for her did. And people might say, well, that doesn't really matter, but let's bring it back. I can't remember the name of the comedian that spoke and made a Puerto Rican joke about Trump. I'm from New York. I didn't find the joke funny, not because it's about Puerto Ricans, because the joke just didn't land. It was whack. But after that, people jumped on it and said, "Oh, this is what Trump says. This is what Trump thinks." And it's like, okay, that never came out of his mouth, as far as I know, and I could be 100% wrong. But it never came out of his mouth. But yet they said that he said it because someone that represented him, that was on that stage with him, said that thing. Now, if we were to relate back to Kamala Harris, she had many people coming out saying, if you're black, you have to vote for her. If you're this, you have to vote for her. If you're a woman and you don't vote for her, you're voting against yourself and everything like that. So even though she herself wasn't saying it, the people rocking with her were. And I think we need to be cognizant of the fact that people are paying attention and the voters are listening and they're going, yeah, it's not coming out of her mouth, but it's coming out of their mouth. And they're almost a spokesperson for her. So it kind of came off as you only care about one issue or one demographic, and it wasn't everyone else. And everyone else in this case was mainly men, because for the most part, or obviously because men just have been more conservative and women have been more liberal. I think that's pretty much seen throughout, like, not just the U.S. but other countries as well. But it's something that's just interesting because in the aftermath of all this, the left has been cannibalizing itself, and it's something I kind of want to talk about a little bit later. Let's get back. She doesn't have to decide she wants to run for something again in the next 6 months, said one former Harris campaign aide. The natural thing to do would be to set up some type of entity that would give her the opportunities to travel and give speeches and preserve her political relationships. That's not bad. Honestly, what it does sound like is that she's out of a job and she's going to have to try to stay relevant for these next 4 years. I could definitely see her releasing a book and talk about her experiences, or, I don't know, something. It'll be interesting to see that because, yeah, I mean, like, after this, after she leaves, what's she going to do? She can't go back to being the attorney general. So that'll be interesting to see. I would like to see how she's going to stay relevant for these next 4 years. Most immediately, Harris and her advisors are working to define how and when she will speak out against Donald Trump and reassert her role in the Democratic Party. I'm not for her. I'm for whatever side is going to be the most effective. So I don't really care if it's a Democrat or not. If she's going to do something like that, she has to make sure that when she speaks out, it's on something that matters. Not if he puts a tweet out there. If she was to do something that was actually effective and not just like nitpicking at every little thing that he does, I think she can actually, maybe she can make an impact. Who knows? I don't see her winning if she tries to run for president in like 2028. I don't see that. I could be wrong, but as it stands right now, don't really see it happening. Closing out her term as vice president, she's set to preside over certifying the November election she lost to Trump, and then appear at once in future Trump's inauguration on January 20th. Wow, I can't read. I'm sorry. There will be a desire to hear her voice, and there won't be a vacuum for long, a person close to Harris said. Interesting. So, to kind of circle back to Gavin Newsom, California, it seems like it's been purposely putting its citizens into like strife, and then all of a sudden, he started changing, started doing like different things. So to pop over here, this was back in September 6, 2024. Before, Gavin Newsom was pretty much all for the migrants. And then he kind of started vetoing certain bills. And it was kind of interesting because it just kind of came out of nowhere. So Gavin Newsom kills California bill to help undocumented immigrants buy homes. Now, a little bit about that. I don't know about anybody else, but I see that as a little bit of a slap in the face. I know how expensive California homes are. I have a few buddies that I serve with from California, and then some of them that went back to California. And I remember when a friend of mine, he was buying a home because he got stationed out in California. And the VA home loan, the way it works is that they give you pretty much, depending on where you're going to go live. So they give you a certain amount, not like this all unending amount that you could just use however you like. They're going to give you a certain amount depending. But I remember they gave him around $600,000. Now, anywhere else, that is an astronomical amount. It is, unless you're going to like one of those huge cities, and we know what those cities are. And honestly, $600,000 is more than the national average of like the average cost of homes. Cause I think the average cost of homes is around $425,000. And I remember when he had it, I was like, "Oh, yo, dog, that's cool." And he said, "Bruce, that's not really gonna do much." And he wasn't lying. I looked over some of the houses with him, and it was insane. Like they weren't cheap. So I say that this is a slap in the face because you're going to propose a bill to help, and yes, it didn't pass, that's fine, but you're going to propose a bill to help undocumented migrants, illegal. Like I'm okay with legal migrant. I don't give a rat's ass, but you're going to propose a bill to help illegal migrants buy homes when many Californian people are struggling and don't have enough money to buy homes of their own. The amount of Californians that are living in their cars that are functionally homeless within like the sense of not living within a home, like trailers and everything like that, it's a lot higher than other states. So this is a dastardly thing to do, to just propose this bill. Hey, look, let's help these people that are here illegally get homes. It's like, I know I'd be pissed. I know I'd be pissed. The Democratic governor's veto comes a day after President Donald Trump said he would ban undocumented immigrants from receiving home mortgages if he returns to the White House. See nothing wrong with that. It also takes the issue off the table ahead of Vice President Kamala Harris' first scheduled debate against Trump next week. So, see, like I said, this is back in September. Also, what he did as well over here, he's apparently, Newsom sends a clear message about increasing benefits for undocumented immigrants. Like I said, I have no issue with helping people that come here legally, but I think it's a slap in the face to a lot of people, especially people that came here legally, that you're giving them all this money to go to school and get benefits when your own people are here struggling. Like go down Skid Row. It's terrible. Which is funny because I think there's something in here about him cleaning up Skid Row. It's still pretty bad because they just packed up, left, came back later. But it's just interesting because like you can't convince me that it's a good move to forego the people of your state that are living there and then to just jump ahead and help someone that came here I don't know, like maybe I'm heartless and maybe I'm just not the right demographic for this. Maybe I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about, but I just think that's just weird, and I'm a veteran and I have bleeding hearts for veterans. The amount of veterans I see out on the street just here, I can imagine what it's like in California, but yet you're proposing bills to help undocumented. It's just insane. And this is in October. Now, jump all the way to August. Governor Newsom cleans up homeless encampments in Los Angeles, just like what I was saying before. He went to Skid Row. He went to different encampments under the bridges and everything like that. And he's been doing like a lot of work. So I feel like he's setting himself up to maybe run in 2028. That people are going to pull up his record and they're going to show, hey, look, multiple cities within California are on the verge of bankruptcy or just in high debt. And this is the guy that we want to run the country. I don't think that's a smart answer. You know what? Like, yeah, you can see the governor position as like a mini president of California, and that went terribly. So I don't think that would I don't think that would work out for him. But honestly, I could definitely see Californians being like, oh my God, Gavin Newsom, he's a great guy. No. And I think honestly, even he's sweating a little bit because in this next video, they talk about Gavin Newsom pretty much going to visit those counties and those parts of California that were heavily influenced by Trump, and voted for him. Because believe it or not, even though some of the states that were always blue stayed blue, I saw how close it was in New Jersey and New York. It was closer than it's ever been in a while. Like I saw the numbers and I was like, that's kind of weird. And California as well, not as close. Well, New York and New Jersey were a lot closer as opposed to California. California, I think, is going to forever be blue. But it was just, it was interesting to see because it was like, okay, this is weird. This never really happens. But let's go.
Democrat in the country has been more open borders than, of course, Gavin Newsom, governor of California. And he's making sounds like he might be kicking off his presidential campaign for 2020. What is it? 2028. Listen to this. Ad 4.
I care about people. I don't care who you voted for. I care about people. I care about Trump supporters. I care about RFK Jr. supporters. I care about Tucker Carlson supporters. I care about Charlie Kirk supporters. I care about Ben Shapiro supporters. I care about all people. I care about protecting them, their public safety, and their public health.
So after a couple of years of...
Yeah, the man sounds presidential. No, honestly, it sounds like he's on his Kamala game. I don't care. Whenever someone got hurt, I never asked if they were a Democrat or Republican. The first thing I asked them was, are you okay? Yeah, he's on his Kamala grind right now. And look, these next 4 years are going to be interesting, but I could definitely see 2028 just being wild and the type of candidates that we're going to see. I definitely see on the Republican side J.D. Vance. Um, I would say Tulsi Gabbard, but I don't know. But Gavin Newsom, I could definitely see. I don't know how old Vivek is, but I could definitely see Vivek trying to jump on there as well. And independents, obviously, I don't know, Bernie's going to still be up there. That'd be kind of interesting. Or Jill Stein again, maybe. We'll just have to wait and see. So, like what I was saying before, and what I really wanted to touch on was the reason why Kamala Harris lost. Look, I'm not going to sit here and say that racism and misogyny doesn't exist. Yes, every racist and misogynist voted for Trump because they didn't want a black woman to be president. Yes. But is the majority of people that voted for Trump racist and misogynist? No. What is going on is that in the aftermath of her loss, we're pretty much seeing how the Democratic Party, even though they are a party of, they speak of being a party of unity and togetherness, they seemingly don't really even like each other. And that's the part that really gets me, is that the minute things fell to the wayside, it was automatically, let's cannibalize each other and let's talk down to each other and everything like that. Because they're not looking back going, okay, why did we lose? Why did the American people look at us and say, I don't really think I really want to vote for them. But let's jump into someone that, honestly, I hate saying this because I don't hate people, but I dislike people very much. And being introduced to Joy Reid, I've come to realize that she is a hateful person. And I say that because she's doing exactly what I was saying just before, of cannibalizing the left and pretty much saying, yes, everyone's the problem. Black men a little bit less. Black women not at all, because we voted overwhelmingly for Vice President Harris. But everyone else is the problem. Instead of just saying, you know what, maybe we could pull something else from this besides everyone's the enemy. No, they're not doing that. But to jump right in.
Hey, so fam, we need to talk about the fact that Donald Trump literally called immigrants vermin, which is a Hitler quote, literally said he was going to do mass deportation of undocumented immigrants, and millions of Latino families are mixed status, meaning some members are natural born citizens born in the country legally, some members are undocumented, mixed status. He said he's going to do mass deportation. He insulted Latinos in every way you could possibly think of, including his comedian at his Madison Square Garden rally, calling Puerto Rico an island of trash.
So to jump on that real quick, it's just like what I was saying before. Even though Donald Trump didn't say that, I'm going to address everything that she said before as well. Even though Donald Trump didn't say that, because it was a constituent of his, because it was someone that followed him and was shared the same stage as him, it's equivalent to him saying it. And this is what I'm talking about. They keep saying that Kamala Harris ran a perfect campaign and she didn't run on these things, DEI and everything like that. But her constituents, the people that ran with her, the people that were fighting for her did. And the American people saw that and they said, okay, I feel like this doesn't really represent me. Let me dig a little bit deeper. And when you have people like her calling other people out and blaming them, not in this video, we'll get to that in a second, it's like, what are we sitting here talking about? It's just interesting, like how they don't look at it and go, okay, this is an issue. We shouldn't be talking to people like this, even though we did lose and we didn't get the result that we wanted.
Hey, I just want to give some free advice to the white progressives, particularly white progressive women who may be thinking about marching against the Trump victory, maybe putting back on the P-word hats and doing that thing. I would just say probably don't send any of those invites to any black women you know. I'm just going to tell you right now, they're not coming. I'm pretty sure black women have resigned from the Save America Coalition, Save Democracy Coalition, and definitely the Save the Democratic Party Coalition. I think that's probably not happening. I would just keep those invites maybe among your own friends, because I don't think they're coming. But yeah, I think black women are now on the Save Black Women, Prioritize Black Men, and prioritize black communities, black businesses, and that, and the black spaces, but Save America, Save the Democratic Party. Yeah, I don't think that's happening.
And you see that's the issue, because a lot of what she says, when you like look at it with a closer lens, it does come off as being racist, because instead of just saying, hey, look, we may not agree with this, but we need to stick together. We need to find a way to do this together. And I don't know. But instead of just saying that, you just say, keep everyone among you and your little white friends, but don't involve any black people. We're not doing that. And like I said, they keep talking about unity and coming together, but all I'm hearing is divisiveness. All I'm hearing is, yeah. Keep to your own, do your own thing, unless it's time to vote. Then no. Get your white ass in there, in that booth, and then vote for our rights. But if it doesn't work out the way we need to, even if you're progressive liberal, I don't really care. Go over there. They just keep running on this misogyny and racism, and it's like, I don't believe a majority of the country is racist and misogynistic. I just can't believe that.
Democrats need to be mature, and they need to be honest, and they need to say, yes, there's misogyny, but it's not just misogyny from white men. Mm-hmm. It's misogyny from Hispanic men. Right. It's misogyny from black men. Things we've all been talking about, who do not want a woman leading them. Might be race issues with Hispanics. They don't want a black woman as president of the United
States. They're not sitting down thinking, maybe because when it came to talking about the border, she kind of ran away from that. She was the border czar. Apparently she wasn't, but look, I'm not even going to get too much into that, because that's the whole thing. Maybe it's because every time they talked about the border, she kept talking about that border bill, which, if you've read the bill, which I have, it didn't just talk about securing the border and putting 1,500 different ICE agents on the border. That's not all it said. It also talked about sending billions of dollars to Taiwan, Ukraine, and Israel. And not just a one-time thing either. We're sending billions of dollars overseas, and you're hiding it within a border security bill. And then they talk about how Trump got his Republican constituents to tank the bill, yet 5 Democrats voted against the bill, and then 1 independent. Obviously, the independent was Bernie Sanders. So unless Trump is cool with a few Democrats, one of which is I want to say the House Majority Leader, of the Senate. I could be wrong. And unless Trump is cool with Bernie Sanders, I don't see how they're trying to push the narrative that, this is going to help, the border. No, it was also going to send money where it didn't need to be sent. I'm not down for proxy wars. That's my other video, which you guys should check out. But I don't understand that. A lot of Democrats are blaming men, young men in particular, mostly white men, but they're blaming Gen Z men as to why she lost the presidential election. And I mean, if this video in itself doesn't give people a decent insight as to why, I don't know. I don't know if the Democratic Party can be helped. Yeah.
I think men are better than they think they are. However, messaging has just gotten out of control from both sides. You take a look at the fact that across the board, didn't matter what race they are, males turned towards Donald Trump, turned away from the Democratic Party. And why? That's the real question that should be asked. Why? Because in so many ways, the party basically dismissed him, left him out of the conversation, and not until the very end decided, I better reach out and see if these guys are worth talking to. And if you just look at the fact that we have nobody, I think, in this country right now, the majority of people, believe in an equal playing field where everybody gets to participate and play. But when you start shoving certain things down people's throats that they don't want to have to eat, you're going to have to deal with the consequences of forcing somebody to do something that they didn't want to do. Okay.
Montel talks about a good point, especially the last point. Yeah, it's definitely a true thing, because I know in the aftermath of this election, I've looked at some content creators that were more left-leaning, and a lot of what they had to say just seemed apathetic to how men felt. And people started to ask, okay, what you doing for men, especially black men? That's when they came up with this ridiculous list of things that they were going to do. And a lot of it was just the same. Out of those 5 things, I want to say it was 5, a lot of that was just things that she already proposed talking about. And then one of the most insulting ones was weed. I don't smoke weed. So what does that do for me? And then she talked about a loan, a forgivable loan. What is a loan? I don't need a loan. And it was insulting. It was so last minute that unless you really just had, unless you lived on a rock, you just had blinders on, there's no way you didn't see that as oh shit, I forgot about the men. The black man. Yeah, he just tossed him something. Because I read through it, and essentially, when it was supposed to be for black men, it wasn't, because it said black men and others. What? I thought this was for black men. If I came up with a restaurant and I said, oh yeah, it's gonna be free for veterans and others, that means it's not for veterans. But it's just hilarious because people are still not getting it. They're not understanding the whole point and why it was. They just keep saying, well, it's misogyny and racism. No. And it's just like we said, if you keep shoving something down someone's throat, they're going to reject it. They're going to hate it. Then they're going to look at the person that shoved it down their throat and they're going to go, yeah, I don't effing like you.
There's the messaging toward men that Trump was doing, and then there was the messaging toward women that the Harris-Biden campaign were doing. I remember sitting at the Democratic convention and looking after 3 or 4 days and saying, not a whole lot of men on this program. And that's intentional because they thought this was going to be an abortion election, but was that a misstep?
I think that abortion being the top issue was obviously a misstep because we saw that it didn't actually bring out the women that they expected either. But I would argue that from the onset, the polling showed that there were stark divisions between what men valued and what women valued, which isn't actually surprising across this country. But the economy was something that everybody valued. The way it was messaged, I think, was problematic. But in addition to that, looking at the psychological aspect of things, men have felt left out for quite some time. Be it whether it was social groups, be it whether it was, leading to depressive states or other things. They've been very vocal about that. That existed long before the pandemic. I do think that there needed to be stronger outreach to men and men of all backgrounds. But in addition to that, there needed to be more men at the helm of the decision-making process on the campaign. A campaign that is run by a lot of women is probably not going to be the same campaign that can speak to men. I'm glad that we have this
to be fair,
circle here because it
Trump
matters.
and Harris's campaign were run by a mixture of men and women. I'm not.
She put it very eloquently. That's exactly what the issue was. Exactly what it was. Men have been speaking out for a while saying, hey, look, we're struggling. And people go, yeah, but you're a man, though. Things are easy for you. I feel like she knows what people are talking about, but she's still kind of just like, well, no. I mean, like, it was still a mixture. Yes, it was a mixture of people, both genders that worked on both campaigns, but the overall message wasn't a mixture. It was mostly, hey, look, we're doing this for women. We're doing this for the marginalized community. And if you're a man and don't vote for this, you're racist. Oh, you're white? You're black? Can't be racist, technically? Yeah, misogynist. And that's what happened. And people don't like that stuff. I don't know if that's like not obvious, but people don't like that.
Sure, I think it's just about a theory of the case.
But no,
right?
a lot of the messaging strategies that were developed to men were developed to men by white women. And I think that is a problem.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think that, with the appeal with Trump, I think many of his supporters are kind of attracted to that brash, unapologetic, that tough guy kind of persona that Trump has always kind of had. And I always think back to, the mid-'90s and late '90s when I was in college and high school, where you saw a ton of rappers that were name-dropping Donald Trump in all these songs. And there's a reason for that. There's a reason for that because all of them looked at Donald Trump as this unapologetic, brash guy that really pushed his success, his power plays, the art of the deal, all this stuff kind of made it what men look at as, okay, this is what I want. And men of all backgrounds. And I think that, you fast forward to what happened in this election and the dynamics of the populace of people that voted for Trump, men, women, Hispanic, white women, men in general, black men. It really showed that this election kind of teetered towards the catering towards men.
That brother Dante, Dante, he actually set up a really good point. Yeah, that's and he says something, and a lot of people have talked about it as well. Back then, people like Donald Trump. A lot of people that speak out against him now that apparently hate him and think he's all these different type of things, they loved him back then. They liked him a lot. Yeah, it's funny that he brought that up, and it's like no one's looking at that and kind of going, damn, that's kind of crazy. All of a sudden, he's all those terrible things, and people were referencing him, talking to him, and liking him, having him on shows, The View, and just now it's just like, oh yeah, this guy's a fascist. Crazy.
So it's just a thing where you look at it, and Trump has made a name off himself from doing this, and I think that was a big part of why he won the election.
Scott, I'll let you jump in a second, but I think you might find this interesting. Scott Galloway, who has a podcast, many podcasts, but he's working on a book about what's going on with men in the country. He writes this: young American men are in a crisis of underemployment, under-socialization. Soaring college costs affect people regardless of their gender, but manufacturing jobs, once a ticket to the middle class for men without college degrees, have been offshored. Housing is increasingly unaffordable. Men are stuck. They are isolated, despairing, and unproductive, prone to obesity, drug addiction, and suicide, susceptible to misogyny, conspiracy theories, and radicalization. They make inadequate mates, employees, and citizens. It's a pretty dire picture that he paints there, and it seems what he's saying is that Trump spoke to that.
Well, I agree. First of all, I agree with most of everything that's been said here already, and I agree with some of this assessment. I do think we have a crisis of especially young men in this country, and they're in many ways disconnected from the rest of their families, disconnected from communities, disconnected from our political culture, disconnected from our civil culture. And that's a real problem for a society that depends on all of us to be engaged and working together to make it as good of a country and as good of a society as it can be. I think the Democrats in this election made men feel like that the patriarchy is over, boys, and we're going to put you in the back seat for a while, and you're just going to have to accept it, without any thought to the ramifications of telling people who are out honestly trying to make a living, provide for their families, be good husbands, be good fathers. When you tell people who are doing their level best that either A, it's not good enough, or B, you're part of the problem, what do you expect? And then finally, as a political tactic, the attempt to put walls on the ticket, and that was going to somehow solve all of the problems that had been built up for years, was ridiculous, because it turns out Walz was the last person that men wanted to hear from. And I remember at the beginning of that whole campaign, when they put him on, I sat right here, and people were like, oh, they got camouflaged hats. They're going to be wearing them in the deer stands this fall. And I think to your point that you just made, that was not, that idea that it was not formulated by a bunch of dudes who actually go deer hunting. It was come up with by a bunch of people who've never met a dude that actually goes deer hunting. But when you try to put that kind of window dressing on a real communications problem or a real relationship problem, it gets exposed immediately.
I did a fun little experiment. I knew we were going to be talking about this tonight. So I have a text chain that's been going on with my friends from college and law school for about 15, 16 years. It's all guys. Some are married, some are not. Some have kids, some do not. Some are former Democrats. They are all MAGA now. So I sent them a text, and I said, I'm coming on the show. We're going to discuss this issue of masculinity and MAGA. Can you give me some PG thoughts? I'm going on family show here tonight.
You may not be familiar with
give us,
they
we're
go to
going to
PG-13 if you want.
Well, we're definitely not going to be reading the text. I will put it to I heard a few certain things. MAGA is fun. MAGA is fun. I heard it time and again from each one. Yeah, MAGA is fun. One of them said, MAGA equals football and beer. The left equals HR and tofu. That was one of the nicer ones. Trump speaks to me. He speaks like a normal person. He's not a robotic politician. We can have a debate over what he says, but he speaks to them as a normal person. But the one thing that came across from all of them was, I'm sick of being told what to do. I'm sick of the media telling me what to do. I'm sick of the woke left telling me what to do. I'm sick of government telling me what to do.
Yeah, that is pretty much it. I mean, he hit it right on the nail, and that's, look, I've talked to a lot of men, and I've talked to a lot of men just in passing, just wanting to talk, and then just talking to men, like, particularly or specifically to talk about certain issues, and that's exactly what they feel like. They feel like they're just tired of being made out to be the enemy, the demon, the bad guy. And just like what I think Scott Jennings said, he's like, a lot of these people are just normal people that are just trying to go home and take care of the things that they have to take care of. And then they have people screaming in their face saying, you're the devil, you're evil, you're bad. Oh, I don't feel safe around you. And it's like, wow, that's drastic. That's pretty big. And I don't know what to do with all that, and yeah, it really does affect, because the way I go about certain things nowadays is just a little bit different compared to how I hear people went about things in their youth. And not to say that it's bad or, worse now, but I could just tell that there's just a difference, and it's not a good difference as to how men associate, not with just, women, but their own peers, with each other. And it seems like it's a whole lot of just uncomfortability with being themselves because they're told that they're toxic, and then just kind of being ignored a bit. But yeah, that's something I'm going to talk about in a later video. But that's all I have for now. Thanks for watching, if you did watch, and leave a like and comment and subscribe. Thanks. Peace.